Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hard Count Football Podcast Live. My name is Jacob Charnow, leading the next generation of football fans live on the Hard Count Football YouTube channel, and of course, right here on 1252 Sports. Guys, March 13th, free agency starts in just a few days. Last week, I came on the show, I said we had nothing to talk about. I did. We had to come up with something. We talked about free agency. We talked about, some of the draft stuff. Um, we talked about the franchise tag. Uh, and then in just 7 days, the league folded in upon itself. There was more action in the last 7 days than I have seen in probably since the Super Bowl, since there was football. There was more football news in the last week, since maybe even after the Super Bowl, before the Super Bowl, honestly. Um, we're riding solo today. No Harry. Harry, once again, not able to join us. We're running a little bit later than normal, obviously. He's a working man, so he's not joining us today. But I'm still here to talk about all this NFL news with you. We're going to talk about the big trades that have happened. We're going to talk about some possible free agents and where they might go because the franchise tag extension deadline passed, which means a lot of guys are going to hit free agency. And a lot of big names are going to hit free agency. Some guys got contract extensions. We'll talk about that. And of course, we'll talk about the NFL draft because we are a little bit over a month. We're about a month and a half out from the draft in Vegas. And now there's a lot of draft implications with what happened. With that being said, let's get right into it with the first big news of the week. I would say the biggest news of the week: the Denver Broncos trade for Russell Wilson. Seahawks send Russell Wilson to Denver. So the Broncos got Russell Wilson, and they got a fourth-round pick from the Seahawks. And the Seahawks got two first-rounders, two second-rounders, a fifth-rounder, quarterback Drew Lock, D tackle Shelby Harris, and tight end Noah Fant. So a hefty haul for Russell Wilson. We knew, what we didn't know was that Russell Wilson would get dealt this early. I thought Russell Wilson was going to play one more season in Seattle. Obviously, Denver gave them an offer they couldn't refuse. I heard Washington was also in the run for us. Um, and yeah, Washington was in the run for us, but I guess they wanted to send him to the AFC, which makes sense. It does. It makes sense. Um, so what does this mean for both sides? First, um, let's talk the Broncos first. So the Broncos, they get their quarterback, a team that for since Peyton Manning, um, they've been a quarterback away in quotes. Man, this was I think this was a great move for Denver, and I think they obviously wanted to make this move. But the way I look at it for them, this move was absolutely necessary. It was a need for the Broncos. Because you look around the AFC West and you look in that division, right? The Chiefs, they still have Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and they're going to make moves in free agency. I promise. They're going to make moves in free agency because the salary cap is limited. The Chargers, we'll talk about their big move of the week in just a few minutes after we're done talking about this. But they buff up their defense. They're heading into their third year with Justin Herbert, who is a bona fide star. Brandon Staley's he's going into his second year, kind of figured out what he was doing. They're getting healthy. They just extend Mike Williams, so they lock up their outside receiver. They still have Keenan Allen. I have a feeling like they'll add some more pieces in free agency as well. You have the Raiders, who they look like the baby of the bunch now, but they still have a solid quarterback. Now they have a coach in Josh McDaniels. They have a system that has proven to work, and they just made the playoffs. They're a playoff team. They just made the playoffs last year. The Broncos, what they start last season 4-0, and then they fell off, and they ended up finishing with a pretty bad record. They needed to make this move if they want to compete in the AFC going forward for the next 5 years, because they have no shot unless they made this move for Russell Wilson. And listen, Russ just played to the cold. He was playing in Seattle. I think Russell Wilson's going to be able to throw the ball like 80 yards now in Denver because we know the ball goes farther in Denver. Um, But man, the AFC West is heating up. In order for the Broncos to not get left behind, it was crucial that they made this move. And congratulations to Russell Wilson for getting out of Seattle. Now he's got maybe better weapons. I mean, look Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, all them versus Cortland Sutton, Jerry Judy. You know, pretty solid weapons, but you get much better offensive line. You get a coach that's going to run the ball. You get a defense that is proven to be good and talented. And what they trade one piece away from this defense is Shelby Harris. He's pretty good, but I promise you, they'll get some guys back. I've heard names, Bobby Wagner. I heard Von Miller might come back now. And now that you have Russell Wilson, now that you have a quarterback and a team that's proven now and ready to win, now free agents are going to want to come to Denver to play with Russell Wilson, and not have to deal with all that Seahawks nonsense going on over there. But now let's talk about the Seahawks, right? Because the team that just traded two of their first rounders for the 2 years after that for a safety in Jamal Adams to the Jets, and it seemed like they had no idea what they were doing. Now they get those picks back, and they get even more with these two first rounders and two second rounders that they get. So now that top 10 pick, now that top 10 pick that they traded away to the Jets, now they get it back. Now they have the 9 pick, and they have a chance to take a quarterback if they choose to, because it doesn't seem like there's another team in the top 10 that might, besides maybe the Lions too. I doubt it with the amount of defensive talent there is in this draft. I mean, listen, will the Seahawks go with a quarterback? Maybe Malik Willis. Maybe they like him. But they did get a quarterback in this deal. They did get Drew Lock. I doubt Drew Lock's going to be the starter week one there. I feel like Drew Lock might be a part of a bigger deal for possibly a guy like Deshaun Watson, who will not face criminal charges. I don't want to get into all that Deshaun Watson stuff because there's a lot of legal stuff that I'm not too educated. I'm not educated enough to talk about. But all we know is that Deshaun Watson will not face criminal charges. Chances are he's going to play. Chances are he's going to get traded in the next couple of days. And I'm hearing the Seahawks. I'm hearing they're going to flip these two first rounders and these two second rounders and trade to the Texans for Deshaun Watson to get, I guess, a younger quarterback. I don't know why they would do that. I think this is the Seahawks team that just needs to rebuild. Um, Go with a young quarterback if they want to draft Malik Willis at 9 and start over again with a younger team, right? Because the Seahawks, like we mentioned, they released Bobby Wagner after 10 seasons. I'm hearing they're going to trade DK Metcalf. I heard he's on the table. I heard Tyler Lockett might be on the table. I heard any pieces are available for this team. And poor Jamal Adams, man. No, I mean, I don't care. Not poor Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams getting what he deserves. Saying he doesn't want to be part of a rebuilding team. And he leaves the Jets and Ross way out of New York, and now he's over in Seattle on probably a rebuilding team that's farther away than what the Jets were at when he was on the team. So, it all works out in the end for Jamal Adams, I suppose. Um, but I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if they move Jamal Adams. This is the team that needs to head into a rebuild, draft a quarterback right now, even roll out with Drew Lock for a year, maybe even tank to make that pick better make their pick for next year even better. Um, but I don't know because now they have a tight end. They get Noah Fant, who has a high upside, but once again, they don't have a quarterback. You know, go young, man. This is a Pete Carroll. You can get rid of Pete Carroll after this year, probably. I don't think they'll get rid of him. I think he'll retire after this year if they don't do well. I assume they won't, even if they do get Deshaun Watson, because they still have no defense. The same problems that they had with Russell Wilson, they're still going to have with Deshaun Watson. Even worse now that they don't have Bobby Wagner. They don't have all these guys. I don't understand it. Um, I don't understand what the Seahawks are aiming at. We'll find out, I guess, by the time the season starts where they're going with all this. But um, they have a lot of options going forward, and they get rid of Russell Wilson, um, who was their franchise guy and brought them a Super Bowl and did everything he could for the team, and they did him dirty by not giving him an offensive line for 10 years. Whatever to this. I'd say the next biggest move this week, Carson Wentz gets traded to Washington. Um, I have to find out. Let me find the details on that. I forgot to find the exact details of what was going on with Carson Wentz. Um, but man, so Carson Wentz gets sent to from the Colts to Washington. I know it was not a big trade at all. Um, yeah, it was not a big trade at all. But once again, there's two sides of this situation. Let's talk about both of them. So Washington gets their quarterback, right? Or who I guess he's going to be their starter next year. Um, what I'm hearing is reports have come out that he was difficult to work with, and he wasn't really a leader. He was a me guy on the Colts, and so they get rid of him after one season. I don't know what an upgrade is going to be for the Colts, but in Washington, I suppose they think they have their quarterback. But I think that Washington was in on Russell Wilson, and they thought they were going to get him, and I think the Broncos um, might have upped their deal a little bit at the last second. They got put together pretty quick. Um, so like Washington goes with Carson Wentz, Terry McLaurin. I pray Carson Wentz can at least throw him the football. He's so talented, McLaurin, and it would be a shame to see his talent go to waste. His whole career, similar to an Allen Robinson, and he's never going to reach his true potential because he never gets a quarterback that can throw him the ball consistently and get him the ball when he needs to have it. But in terms of the Colts, man, where do they go from here at quarterback? Because the guys they have in their quarterback room right now they're certainly not impressive. Um, it's uh, Sam Ellinger, who they drafted out of Texas last year, and they get I think that might be it. Oh, and Jacob Eason, their quarterback out of Washington that they drafted 2 years ago. You get rid of Wentz. The names I'm hearing as possibilities are Mitch Trubisky, who I think would be a pretty good move for the Colts. Put Trubisky in an offense where he doesn't need to go over the top and make those big plays. And just kind of do it when he has to, you know, um, which I think he could do in New York, and I think he could do in Indianapolis. Um, I'm also hearing Jimmy Garoppolo. The reality is, how much more of an upgrade is Jimmy Garoppolo for Carson Wentz? Um, it doesn't feel like Jimmy Garoppolo is going to go, right? Because Carson Wentz, they take a shot on a guy who's injury prone through his career with Carson Wentz, injury prone, not able to win the big games, um, hasn't proven to really, eh, not proven to do much, right? He had a few good years where he was all right, but a terrible year the year before. Um, are they going to go for Jimmy G, who is also that injury prone? I think they want a safer option in terms of health, and I think Trubisky seems like the perfect option. And considering the Colts don't have a first rounder, they can't draft a quarterback. Uh, so I think they'll take a 1 year guy, um, take a shot on him, and I think that's going to end up being. Um, I think they'll end up being Trubisky. I think Jameis Winston would also be a good option. But listen, right? Jimmy Garoppolo would head from San Francisco, where he had Debo Samuel, George Kittle, um, all these guys, and weapons and a solid and all that. The Colts, where besides Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman, you really have nothing. And if Michael Pittman's your one, I love Michael Pittman, but I think he's going to be a top end wide receiver too in his career. And that's not a knock on him. I think he's a fantastic player. They don't have that true number one option that's going to take Jimmy Garoppolo's game to another level. It doesn't feel. I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo would be that much of an upgrade for the Colts, right? We know he can hand the ball off. We know he's going to hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor. He's not going to do that any better than he was doing it with the Niners. And I think Kyle Shanahan made an offense that was good for Jimmy Garoppolo. He still couldn't really perform in it. Um, so I don't like Jimmy Garoppolo for the Colts. And if they make that move, I don't know. I really would not be a fan of it. And they don't have the pick to trade for Deshaun Watson either. So I don't think that'll be. But that's the quarterback news we got. But there's a lot more than that. There is a lot more quarterback news, a lot more player news. Um, Oh, also Aaron Rodgers returning to the Packers after all that because he's dramatic. He's coming back. But I mean, there was the report, the 4 years, $200 million contract that then Aaron Rodgers came out. Was like, I never signed a contract. But I'm still returning to the Packers. We'll see how much he actually gets paid. Um, because $200 million, $50 million a year, like 163 of it guaranteed. That's a whole lot of money. Um, and yeah, so we'll see what that contract ends up being. But I'm done talking about Aaron Rodgers because man, he's just dramatic. Um, and the Packers franchise tagged Devontae Adams. I don't know how they're going to pay these guys. I don't know how they're going to pay anyone going forward. The salary cap, as we know, like I mentioned, is a myth. People, you can move stuff. Oh, we're going to push his signing bonus to next year, push his and rearrange his contract, do all this stuff, and whatever it is. But let's get through some of these comments. Mac Newfield is a bust, so he asked for a trade. Now he's laughing in Los Angeles. I don't know about that. Christopher Cole, Bucks can't afford to trade for Watson. I would rather see us go with Gabbert or Trask and sign our players and make some more free agents. Okay, so yeah, the Bucks can't afford Deshaun Watson, but they could afford another quarterback. Um, I mean, I hate to say Jameis Winston, but you want to make moves in free agency, you can make 100 moves in free agency, and if you don't have a solid quarterback, none of it really matters, right? None of it really matters unless you have a solid quarterback. You could have, Jerry Rice and Randy Moss playing on the same offense. If you don't have a guy that can throw them the ball, it doesn't. It makes it almost ineffective because when you can't win a Super Bowl with a below average quarterback, you're not going to do it, especially a guy like Gabbard or Trask. And I was kind of middle of the ground on Trask. You need a real quarterback and a guy that can find those weapons. And as much as you guys hate to say it, I really think Jameis Winston would be a good fit. A guy who's played in that Bruce Arians offense before as well. Troy Polamalu, he's here. Jets music quarterback. But, yeah, whatever. But let's talk about Khalil Mack because you mentioned it. The Bears, they traded Khalil Mack to the Los Angeles Chargers. In return, the Bears got a 2022 second rounder and a 2023 sixth rounder, and the Chargers get Khalil Mack. So the Bears obviously get a lot less for Khalil Mack than they had to give up to get him. Um, and it makes no sense in my opinion. Bears fans in the comments, go ahead and explain to me this trade a little bit because you guys got fleeced. I mean, not fleeced as in like you gave up a lot, but you got nothing in return for it. You guys got robbed essentially of a great player, and now, right, the Chargers once again, right after the Broncos trade for Russell Wilson in the AFC West, the Chargers who were also in the AFC West load up this defense even more. Um, Now instead of Khalil Mack getting triple teamed because there's not a solid, because then instead of allowing Roquan Smith to light it up or whatever it is, now Khalil Mack is paired with Joey Bosa. He doesn't need to be the number one pass rusher again, and I think we could see the return of the dominant Khalil Mack that we've seen in previous years because he still has it. And this Chargers defense just got a whole lot scarier, a whole lot, really. And the Chargers, they could win this division. Any team, any of these. I won't say the Raiders yet because I don't. I think they're a bit behind the other teams. But man, the Chiefs, Chargers, and Broncos. Those are all teams that can win this division. I truly believe this division's up for grabs heading into the quarterback. Derek Carr, who was honestly an MVP candidate at some point last season. Russell Wilson, Holmes, and Justin Herbert. The AFC just gets more difficult. But I guess what made the Bears do it, they wanted to, I guess, free up some cap space. Maybe they're going to make a big move in free agency. Um, because Los Angeles took all of Khalil Mack's remaining salary, which is 3 years and $63.9 million. So they're paying him a pretty penny to come play in Los Angeles. But I think he'll definitely be worth it. Man, the trades this week were nuts. Amari Cooper, the Cowboys, they trade Amari Cooper to the Browns. This was a move that we expected to happen. If they weren't going to trade him, they were going to release him. So instead of releasing him, I guess they get a little bit of compensation. So the Browns get The Browns get Amari Cooper, and the Cowboys get a 2022 fifth rounder and a 2023 pick swap in the sixth round with the Browns. Amari Cooper, not the player he used to be. He's still great. I think they're paying him like 20. I think the Browns are going to pay him like $20 million a year, um, which was the big knock on him. So the Cowboys free up some cap space. Um, and I think they'll probably use some of that to sign Michael Gallup to an extension, if I were to guess. And they still have CeeDee Lamb, obviously. So they're still, and Amari Cooper was out for most of the year, and I think, yeah, so I think the Cowboys offense is still going to be pretty solid. But I think the Browns are hoping that Amari Cooper can be even a shell of what he was because they gave their only other wide receiver that has any sort of name brand in Jarvis Landry to go out and seek a trade. And Jarvis Landry, I don't want to hear the injury concerns about him because he only missed one season. He only missed last year. And man, I think he can still be a difference maker. I think he can still really be a difference maker for whatever team ends up trading for him. He's not going to be a guy that's going to demand a lot either. Um, I mean, I think honestly, maybe similar compensation for Amari Cooper, maybe a little bit more. And a team that lost Odell Beckham, a team that's going to lose Jarvis Landry. I don't know how they're going to assess Baker Mayfield next year. I think they're probably done with him. I think they're heading into this year thinking it's his last year, and they're not going to give him an extension. And they'll move on from him after this year because he's really, I don't think he's that good. Um, so let's see if Amari Cooper can maybe raise his game a little bit, raise Baker Mayfield's game a little bit, maybe carry it. We'll see. We'll see. And the Browns also just franchise tag David Njoku, so they get him back for another year as well. J.C. Jackson didn't get tagged. That's a pretty notable name, right? J.C. Jackson, the top corner on the market. I heard he's commanding anywhere between $18 and $19 million a year. The last time someone commanded that money was Tremaine Johnson. He played for the Jets and he got burnt like toast every single play. So is someone going to pay J.C. Jackson? Of course they will, because he's a premier corner in the league, and you can't assume because of past players that all of a sudden one of them is not going to be great. And J.C. Jackson was really, really good for the Patriots. So there's a bunch of teams that need corners. He's going to have a high market. I don't know if he's going to want money or he's going to want to go to a contender. Um, I would guess money. All these guys, I would honestly guess probably money. But he's hoping to make a defense a contender, and I think he's one of those guys that really, really can. Um, so whatever team ends up landing J.C. Jackson will be very lucky. I heard the Jets are interested. I've heard Seahawks are interested. I've um, heard Chargers. I've heard Colts. I mean, every team's going to do their due diligence on him, as they should. He's a really, really good player. Ron Armstead also did not get tagged. He'll hit free agency, played for the Saints last year. One, arguably a top five offensive tackle in the league. I really like I really like a lot of teams for him. Brandon Scherf, also same thing. I'm hearing the Bengals, I'm hearing the Jets, I'm hearing the Dolphins, all the teams that need an offensive lineman, um, which is basically almost everyone. Everyone needs to buff their offensive line. And anytime you can get a premier offensive lineman, um, you'll certainly be in a good position. So, yeah, there it is. We are, I'm hearing let's talk about the Steelers a little bit because I want to get into that. First, let's go with the comment. Now, if Watson would take a lot less money, then yeah, he would be an option, but I'd rather go cheaper quarterback this year, draft a quarterback in the 2023 draft. There's a lot of great quarterbacks coming out after. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. That's why, I mean, I guess if you want to tank, but the weird thing for the Bucks is now if you sign all those guys to big extensions, and you're paying a lot of guys a lot of money next year, then you have to take a chance on a Gabbert or a Trask, and then you take another chance on a quarterback next year in the draft, and half of them, probably more than half of the quarterbacks in the league now in the draft are bust. And there's obviously much better quarterbacks next year than there are this year, but still, you're always taking a chance instead of getting a guy who you have a better chance of winning with. And if you were to bring in, honestly, Jameis Winston, Mitch Trubisky for just 1 year, take a chance on him. And if it doesn't work out, then you can take another chance on a guy next year, but get a guy who can find the targets that you're paying so much money for. Not Deshaun Watson. He's not going to take a lot less money. I don't think he's even an option for the Bucks. The Steelers. I'm hearing Malik Willis. I'm hearing Trubisky. All these quarterback needy teams. Um, they're everyone either likes Malik Willis or one of these guys that are hitting free agency. Uh, in my opinion, best fit for the Steelers, probably drafting a quarterback. I think you take your chance on a guy to draft one. You have a young team, a young defense. You have the pieces, a relatively below mediocre offensive line, um, and and weapons with Deontay Johnson, James Washington. I think you'll lose Juju, but that's okay. You still have Ray McLeod to line up in the slot next year. So some pretty okay weapons for whatever rookie quarterback, and of course Najee Harris a solid run game as well. So and a great defense always helps your young quarterback. Um, so I like whether it's Malik Willis, whether it's Kenny Pickett. I think the Steelers should draft a quarterback, but I don't think Malik Willis will be there for the Steelers to pick. I think at uh, 20, I believe the Steelers have. So yeah, that is what it is. But honestly, this was really just kind of an update show, a weekly update show. Talk about the news, talk about all this stuff. I'm sorry we went a little bit later than normal, or the show's a little bit shorter than normal. But with that being said, we're going to wrap it up today from the Hard Count Football Podcast Live. My name is Jacob Charnow. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. Be sure to go check out other shows here on 1250 Sports Chicago. Follow me on Twitter at Jacob Charnow, Instagram at Hard Count Football. Subscribe to the Hard Count Football YouTube channel, like I said, and of course, check out these shows from 1252 Sports and 1252 Sports Chicago. Guys, free agency, it's only going to get better. It really is. Next Sunday, we'll be able to talk about the guys that got signed, where they're going, the impact they're going to have. We'll have Harry back next week. The show will will obviously be a little bit longer because me and him will go back and forth at each other for an hour talking about what was a good signing, who got paid too much, who should have gone where, what team, this and that and this and that, because we agree, and of course we'll agree on maybe like one or two things. So it is what it is. But like I said, guys, enjoy it. Get ready, gear up. It's going to be exciting, and I'll see you all next Sunday.